make those sites produce. And at the end of the day, had to go into sales. Well, that's a skill that I never had to conquer in my life before. And it just kind of all of the pieces of the puzzle fell into place at the right time. Dan happened to have a sales school that he had around that time that I was able to attend. And I just kind of got my head into it. And then I partnered with another JKer to do sales for him and his agency, and just got a lot of opportunities that allowed me to now look back and be like, I can sell anything, And so would I have been better off if those 25 sites would have taken off and I'd be sitting here maybe rich and lazy, or do I have a new skill that lasts a lifetime? It's all relative. I've only been in JK a little over 2 years. It's like, I have time, right? But I would recommend not making the kinds of mistakes that I did. But you know what, at the end of the day, mistakes, that's how you learn, and that's how other opportunities might open up to you that you may not have otherwise had. And that's what happened for me. And so I'm grateful for all of that. And everything is happening as it should.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the beginning, I certainly made a lot of mistakes too. And I learned from them. Like a lot of this stuff that I share with you guys on a weekly basis and that I've shared in the JK group for the last couple of years, I don't know it because I'm like somehow smarter than you guys or anything like that. I know it because I have more reps. Like we have almost 400 sites, right? We have 370 something sites that we've built. So maybe I don't learn faster, but I'm going to learn because I'm just going to I'm relentless. I'm just going to keep doing it. And I'm going to be like, oh, okay. I'm going to notice stuff along the way. And I know that I didn't do it perfect, but I also know there's people that have been in this thing for as long as me, right? There's people that I know that you guys have probably seen that have been on like the JK calls, and, they've been visible in the group, and we're a lot further along than them. Just because, in my mind, the only reason is because we built more sites. That's just like what it came down to, and it's allowed me to learn more, right? Yeah, maybe like.
Well, I can vouch for the fact that not all of those sites are winners. Right. I mean, we have a portfolio of assets, as I refer to them, and a lot of them are not producing anything, and may never. But you take those hits, and it's kind of the 80-20 rule. I mean, if you put 10 or 100 out there and 20% of them produce, then you still get paid pretty dang well based on what you put into it.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I always kind of view it as I have never say die attitude. So the ones that aren't producing, they're just like, they're not producing yet. Right. And they're not producing for the most part because we're not putting a lot of effort into them. Right. So there's like clients coming in and referrals, and there's all these opportunities coming in. So our focus isn't on them, but we're still they're aging. I've got plans that like, hey, we're going to come back to this one, or like if it doesn't have a GMB, we'll try to get a GMB for it and get it in there, and then try to just like have it sit in a state where it's more complete. So that's kind of one of the thought processes that we go through with our agency, is like, let's just make sure that we've got the boxes checked. So rather than like when we decide to work on it, rather than the GMB being brand new, maybe the GMB is like 2.5 years old, and now like it's going to be easier to rank. So try to get things a lot in that state, but there's all this stuff. I've got some levels of disorganization that I'm not happy with in our agency, where we're trying to work through it. We're certainly not doing everything perfect. But, every time we do something, we're learning from it. I see the mistakes we make, and, we make the adjustments. A lot of the tools that are in Lead Generated have come because I'm like, man, it would be great if if there's a way to do due diligence, like without having to go through the spreadsheet, or wouldn't it be good if we could see where our GMB was ranking, right? Or wouldn't it be good if we had all of our GMBs in one place and I could see which ones didn't have a business description? So that's how, that's where that came from, that functionality in there on the all GMBs page, to be able to click that column and add it in there, because I didn't know. I was like, I think we have some cars that are going down the assembly line and there's no steering wheel, right? So I'm trying to put these things in place to identify this, and that's going to continue to be the direction that we take the software, is to try to make our lives easier. We're building so many things at the same time that it's like, it may seem like you kind of like go through these phases where there's like maybe like smaller changes, but there's some big changes coming from all the stuff that we've been building over the last like 4 to 6 months. We've got some huge stuff that's going to hit here for you guys. I want to go back to goals though. So
one last thought on that before you do, Patrick, is just, you know, what I do in being creative. Sorry about those messages coming. What I do in trying to be creative with this is I go and look at the portfolio and see what lead gen sites might be sitting there, and maybe I can actually use them as a lead gen to somehow pull somebody else into our wheelhouse, add some additional value to an existing client, or somehow pivot or position that asset in a way that's going to give us an advantage on another client or somehow in the marketplace or whatever. So I'm always thinking that way too. How can we utilize these things even if they're not producing well or whatever? So just another thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's always the possibility that somebody's going to come along and say like, hey, I'm in this city and, you know, I'm in this niche, and, oh, we've got one that isn't producing yet, but we certainly a lot further along the line. If it's been aged, it's been built, we have a GMB, you know, we have content on it. It's just, maybe we haven't driven backlinks to it for whatever reason, or we never completed our citations, or we need another round of citations or whatever. So those assets, I think, even though they might not be producing now, they're certainly valuable, and it's just a matter of time before they will be. But Jeff, we're cool now to start talking about goals.
Well, one more thought on that, because I love this stuff. One of them that we had in that position that was pointed at a specific niche, and it was well aged and was just producing some really lower end crap. You know, there were a couple of other associated niches that were kind of that could be added to that site, even though it was focused at this primary niche. So we wrote 10 pages of content for 2, you know, sort of associated niches. And because the site was aged and everything, it's popping off with those other 2, you know, way higher end niches. And now we're going to be able to sell the site for way more than we had anticipated. I'm just working on the right client for it. But instead of it being sort of like a lower end, like $300 to $500 site, now it's definitely a $1,500 and maybe a $2,000 site. So you think of the return over, it probably took us 90 days to turn that thing around, maybe 4 months, you know, but the lifetime value of that is going to be way, way more than it would have been otherwise. So always try to think creatively, because there's, when you got leads, they're gold, you know, so figure it out, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. That was really nice to see that. I know the exact site you're talking about, and it was nice to see how quickly we were able to push that one after it had been sitting around for a while. And that, I mean, that goes to some of you guys probably are in that same situation where you have some old sites that just you haven't done anything with yet. I would encourage you not to get rid of them, or, you know, I've seen a couple of people ask questions, at what point do you like just cut your losses? And for me, it's pretty much never, because I'm just like, I'll find a way to monetize this thing. Like there is a way. If it's, you know, as long as it's not something ridiculous like, you know, whatever, swimming pool cleaning in Alaska is the one I gave a few weeks ago. Like there's going to be a way, as long as there's demand and there's some value to it. Even if I can get $400 a month for it, you know, that, like, if you think about this, like, we own several rental houses, right? And we'll spend, you know, the houses are worth a few $100,000. We had to put a down payment down for 20%, 30% on some of these, right? It's a rental house, right? So, and then what's our return look like when we get, that's all said and done, like $500, $1,000? For me in this industry, I would think that, like, man, I really wouldn't want to try to go into a niche if I'm going to get $500 a month. So, but some of these sites that are old, to get $400 a month, I mean, that's almost like an extra rental house for us, right? And it's certainly not anywhere near the level of maintenance and investments and, you know, just like even financial responsibility, right? You know, we had one of our rental houses, the guy hit the part of the toilet and it broke and it flooded the floor and it went through the next floor and it like damaged 2 different floors and the ceiling, and it was like $15,000. We had insurance, but just that it was that's never happened in my lead gen where I'm like, okay, I've got this thing running and all of a sudden now I owe like $15,000 to try to keep this thing. It's just like, it doesn't happen, right? So like these things, even if they're worth a few $100s a month, I mean, that's great money. That money stacks up, you know, that can pay for maybe a car payment, or who knows, maybe it pays for your health insurance, you know? Don't just cast those things aside. Just keep them in your back pocket for a rainy day, and you can always circle back to them. So after several attempts, I'm going to talk about goals. All right. So our 90-day goals. So what I do, 90-day goals, I'm going to try to kind of present this thing in a more cohesive manner to you guys and kind of have a little bit more organization, but I just wanted to mention it to you. So there's a lot of research that has shown that when you actually write something down, the chances of it happening are, I think it's like 12 times more. I love listening to some of these like motivational videos. And there's one from Arnold Schwarzenegger where he just goes on and talks about how, like, if you don't have a destination in mind, it's a pretty good chance you're not going to get there, right? It's like, if you don't have a target of where you're going, you're probably not going to achieve it. So let's say you have a goal, like, right? So I'm just going to pick a random goal here. So over the next 90 days, I would like to add $5,000 in income to my business. So how am I going to do that? So our client minimum is $1,500 a month. So I need essentially like 3 1/3 clients, right? So if I need like 3 1/3 clients, let's make it easier. Let's make it, so I'm going to add $6,000 of income over the next 90 days, right? So I need 4 clients at 1,500, right? So how am I going to get my 4 clients, right? So I've got to come up with a strategy. When I set these goals, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to plan it out. So if this was like a linear goal, maybe weight loss, right? I'm going to lose 10 pounds over the next 90 days. So let's say I'm going to lose 12 pounds over the next 90 days. So it's like 12 weeks. So I need to lose a pound a week. So that means after 4.5 weeks, at 45 days, I've got to be at 6 pounds lost, right? So when you set these goals, what I recommend is that you come up with like, hey, here's the starting date. Here's the finishing date. Here's where I'm going to be on week 1, week 2, week 3. Here's the actions that I'm going to get very specific with how you are going to get to these goals. Write it down. Like, I'm going to be exercising. I'm going to be taking in these many calories, right? My exercise is going to take place at this gym. I'm going to do it 5 days a week. Here it is. And then you basically every week you have a check-in with yourself. Okay. You gotta, and it's good to kind of do this thing with 2 or 3 people, and you guys can hold each other accountable. And it doesn't mean like Jeff. So Jeff tells me like he's going to lose 12 pounds and we're on week 2 and Jeff hasn't lost any weight. The conversation isn't, oh, Jeff, that's too bad. The conversation should be, Jeff, this is what you said is important. You're not doing it. You're not going to accomplish your goal if you don't do it. So like, why are you not doing it? And like, is this really not important? Like, you've got to kind of like have that accountability with yourself. And if you join some kind of like multi-person group, you guys got to do each other a favor, stand up for each other and like hold each other accountable, right? Because otherwise you're not going to achieve these goals. Like we're not where we want to be. A lot of you guys maybe are further from where you want to be, or you're struggling financially. It's all a question of habits. You know, Tom Brady wins Super Bowl 7. He has very different habits than a lot of other people in the NFL. He's like constantly the people, whether you like him or not. There's a lot of people that are saying that he's one of the hardest working people in there. You know, he wins on Sunday. Monday morning, he's in there studying film at 5 a.m. Like, this guy has a ridiculous work ethic. It's not that he's like this super athlete, but he's got good habits. So I believe that your success and your results are directly tied to your habits. If we can just shift those habits a little bit, then everything can change. And that's where these 90-day goals come in, is like, let's set ourselves up with the right stuff. So you set it up, I would say like 3 to 5 habits, give yourself 90 days, be very specific, work backwards. Every time that you're off, you need to adjust. So if your goal is to read like 10 books, then choose your 10 books. Find out how many pages are in the 10 books. Okay, divide it by 90. This is how many pages I need to read a day. So if I need to read 10 pages a day and it's the end of the week, so it's day 7 and I've only read 40 pages, I need to catch up. I need to make that adjustment, or I'm going to be off pace and I'm going to miss my goal. Okay, this reason we're not where we are, it doesn't need to be a mystery. It can be very mathematical if we just work backwards, and we can put in some like qualitative data on what we need to do to accomplish this. And then we can easily just work backwards and make adjustments. Okay. Yeah. It might mean that you have to read for 2 hours in one day to try to catch up. Well, do it. This is what you said was important. So sit back, kind of think about what's important. I don't think all your goals should be professionally, personally. I think you should have, you got your professional goals. Maybe you got like physical fitness goals. Like one of my goals, I want to make sure that I have time every week to spend with my wife, where we have a day. So we set up, I spent too much time working over the last few months. So on this like 90 days, I have like a day on Sundays. I want to spend some time in nature. I want to spend some time just like me and my wife out there enjoying it. So like, you got to manufacture the life that you want. Manufacture the results that you want by taking action, and not just like letting things happen. I think a lot of us, like maybe I'm projecting, but I look back on 2020 and yeah, it was a weird year, but I think there was a lot of things that I failed to take control of, and it didn't end up being the year I wanted to. So for instance, I've talked to Jeff about this. My family, I went to see them for Christmas and they didn't set up the tree. They didn't have presents. These are things that I want to enjoy. It's kind of how I picture my Christmas. This next year, I'm taking control of it. Christmas is at my house. I'll have the tree set up. We'll have the gifts under the tree. I don't want to sit there and watch Netflix for 4 days with them. Let's set up some activities. So you can kind of be proactive with this and manufacture the results that you want. But we can't just let these things happen on our own. And I think, from what I see, I think too many people are guilty of that, right? So I see Charlene asking, what are the specific goals to reach $5,000 via lead generated in 90 days? So I mean, I don't know that the goals are directly tied to lead generated. I would certainly use the lead generated as a part of growing my business, no matter what dollar amount I was in, right? So some of the specific actions that I would take if I was trying to get to that $5,000 mark in the next 90 days is like, okay, so what is my you're gonna have to do a little math here. What is my average client going to be? Let's just make it simple. We'll say our average client is going to be $1,000. Okay. That's what I'm targeting. It's going to be $1,000. I need 5 clients. So maybe if I were to say that, if I'm going to get to $5,000, how many sites do I need to get, if each site's going to be $1,000 and I want 5 of them, I need 5 sites, right? That's not how it's going to work, because like Jeff said, some of these are going to be duds, right? So I would say 50% dud rate. That's probably a good number. Now, if you're going to have $1,000 client, how many leads are you going to have to give them? Well, that depends on the value of the lead, right? If it's a towing lead, you might have to give them 500 leads. If you're building swimming pools, maybe you need to give them 20 leads, maybe 10 leads. I don't know that niche very well. So you got to work some of this out and say, okay, if I want to do 20 leads, then 20 leads a month, like, okay, what city are you going to do? Like, get all this stuff mapped out, right? And then like, so if I need 10 sites, if half of them are going to fail, maybe we want to be a little bit conservative. Let's say 15 sites. Let's say 2/3 of them are going to fail. So I'm going to have 15 sites built. We know that this process is not a linear process, right? For $5,000 in 90 days, because like maybe the first 45 days, our income is going to be 0, right? Because we're laying the groundwork. But the last 45 days, maybe we can go from 0 to 5,000. So you got to take that into account, and you got to set some milestones, just like you would for your VAs and employees, where you're like, hey, I need this done by this date. So a lot of you guys let your VAs kind of get away with stuff, and that hurts your business. And some of you guys don't let your VAs get away with stuff, right? You have to make that decision. I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. You get what you tolerate. And this goes to yourself too. Are you going to tolerate, if you were an employee, would you tolerate not having this stuff done, right? Would you, like, if you were paying yourself, and would you be upset with yourself if you, like, would you be upset with an employee for the things that you haven't done, right? Does that make sense? So I would say you need to have your 10 sites built in the first 30 days if you're going to get to 5,000 or 15, probably 15 sites built in the first 30 days, which is okay. Like, get your GMBs. You're going to have to get your GMBs. You're going to have to get your sites. So the way we always build our sites, we start out with 2-page sites, because I want that clock to start with Google as soon as possible, right? I don't want to be like 10, like, okay, I'm not going to launch this thing until I get 10 pages. Like, I don't like that idea. Homepage, contact page will have almost nothing on it, right? It'll just have maybe like an email address, the phone number, and then a form that they can fill out. And the homepage will have 1,500 words. So 1,500 words, like, you should be able to write that in one day. Like, it might take you, but so if we got 15 sites, you could have 15 sites done in the first 15 days of the month, right? Maybe some of you got jobs and you got some other stuff, but like, you have to decide what you're willing to sacrifice to get to these results. Because if you're at $0 and you've been in this for like 6 months or a year, then what you're doing is not working. You're gonna have to like kind of look in the mirror and say, I'm gonna have to make a change. So my advice to you is make that change. Put in that extra work, make that sacrifice. Just be like, hey, this is my goal. I'm not going to deviate for it. Right. So I think the guy's name is Eric Thomas. He's like a motivational speaker. And he talks about, if like, he's got some, like, you guys can look this up on YouTube, but he's got some like saying when you want to breathe as much as you want to be successful, then you'll be successful. Right. There's just no way that you're not going to do this, but we get comfortable and we're okay with it. And kind of like time ticks by, and that's how you're in this for a year. And you have no money coming in. It's just like, it wasn't that painful for you not to have it coming in, right? So 15 days, you got your 15 sites. Now you from the beginning, you should be like having posts on Craigslist, maybe on Indeed, to try to get these GMBs lined up, because we know that's going to take some time. We're probably going to swing and miss a few of these. We're going to send out a postcard. They're not going to show up. The person's going to ghost us. They're going to flake, whatever, all that. Just count on that happening, right? So after hopefully 30 days, you've got a GMB, you've got the website built. Now you can start adding pages to it. By the 90 days, if you've chosen the right niches, hopefully you can start to get some leads coming in, right? And it may be that like, I personally think it would be hard to go from nothing to 5,000, where the 5,000 a month with the person, like, it's justified paying you that. I think if you choose some low hanging fruit, you can do that, but I have a hard time getting my stuff to rank in 90 days. But I'll tell you what, 90 days later, if I started this today, 90 days later, I'm going to be way further down the track if I have goals and I'm kind of like working for it and I'm holding myself accountable and I've got like milestones that I have to reach. So this is what's worked for me. And I know this is what's worked for a lot of different people. You got to write the stuff down. You got to hold yourself accountable, just like a workout program. You know, a lot of the like 75 hard and these other workout programs. I personally, I've got my personal opinion on the stuff. I think it's great, not because of like what the program is actually doing, but because there's like a schedule. That's the part that I think changes these things. It's the same with like Insanity and P90X and all these other workout programs. It's like they give you a schedule and all you have to do is follow that schedule. In life and in Legion, no one's giving you the schedule. You got to make your own. You got to decide what your goals are. You can break this stuff in. I think it's really good if you guys have read Traction. They give you like, hey, what's your 10-year goal, 5-year, 3-year, 1 year, 90 days, and then you just kind of work backwards, right? If you know where you want to go, it's easy, just work backwards, right? This is what you need to achieve. If it seems like too much, then maybe you need to adjust your goal. But the reason not to get there shouldn't be just because we didn't write it down. We're just like floating around. Hey, I can't wait till I get to 10K. Like, set a deadline. 10K, I'm going to be to 10K by this date. Here's the action plan that I'm going to do. Because if you don't, you're not going to get there. And that's how you have people that have been in this group for 5 or 6 years that are making $2,000 a month, right? So like, I did that for the first year and a half. And I decided I was done doing that. And then we went from like 8,000 to 40,000 over 12 months, but we really went from like 2,000 to 40,000 over like 15 months, right? I decided, I drew a line in the sand and said, I'm done with this like marginal mediocre life where I can't do what I want to do, right? And I'll tell you, like, it was great. We've grown this agency. We bought houses. My wife and I traveled for 2018. We lived near the beach in Spain. We went to Thailand, Italy, Malta, all these different places. There's nothing special about us. It was just like, I just decided I'm just going to get this done, right? And I'm going to go do it. And I think every single one of you guys, if you make that same decision, that's the missing piece for what I believe most people. And I think it's tied to that kind of like getting stuff in place. And it's also like motivation, right? Like I was motivated enough to make that change and kind of power through those, stay up late, get up early, get what needs to be done, right? Okay, cool. So I'm done screaming at you guys and yelling at you guys. I'd love to hear if you guys have any wins to share. Let's get some positivity in here, and let's talk about this. Does anybody have any wins? Any new clients? Any maybe heat map updates? Like even some discussions, right? Let's just share with this, and let's like I know some of you guys maybe you're a little bit shy to get on camera, but I'll tell you, when you hear it from other people, it can mean a lot. Somebody in your shoes that has kind of going through the same thing you guys are. I think I'm in a little bit different space than a lot of you guys. So I try to engage you guys and get some of you guys to share on this. Also, if anyone's anything they're struggling with, man, I'd be happy to answer it.
When I'm Pat.
What's up, Patrick? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah, I closed a small deal today. I've been giving this guy leads for a long time, but I'm going back to, there's like some that are valuable, some that are like not that worth it, but I just got him doing 250 today. So I'll take
awesome, man.
Yeah, man. I'll take any day of the week. I mean, if that's the next 5 years, that's, was that 10 grand? So, I mean, I'm just kind of looking at it like that.
I'll tell you, it's a lot easier to take somebody from 250 to 500 than it is from like 0 to 250. So kind of getting your foot in the door, you never know where this will go.
Yeah, I'm not even, I mean, I'll just take 250 on that one because I got some other niches I'm interested in. I got this new one. It's not like not that many leads, but every single one is like over 10,000. So, the client, I just started sending him calls and he's pretty pumped about it. And it's like just not that many. I've had some other niches where I sent a bunch and they're just like kicking tires. So yeah, I mean, it just helps hearing that from you. And it's awesome, man. I got a lot of lines in the water. Just keep building. I'm start the 90 days today. I'm gonna try to do 90 sites next 90 days and get this rolling.
That's big, man. I like those aggressive goals.
I just had my first GMV get suspended and lead generated like an hour ago.
Sorry to hear that, man.
On here, no, I just appealed it. I think I'll get it back.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing is, the way we used to look at those suspended GMVs was like, we lost it, we got to start over, and our attitude has very much shifted to like, all right, let's reach out to Google support. Let's talk to them. What do we need to get this thing back up, right? And it seems like 6 or 7 times out of 10, we're bringing them back now. Like we're like, you just got to harass them until they give up. Like that's kind of what it seems like to me at this point. But
yeah, I would have never probably saw that. I mean, maybe I would have. It's a newer one, so I'm like adding citations and stuff, but that's super nice getting that notification in there. Cause then like, it was like an hour ago and I just messaged saying, hey, this is really important for our business type of thing. So I'll post an update in the group, if anybody's struggling, they're all scared about that and see. I think I'll get it back tomorrow. I'm pretty optimistic about this.
I like it, man.
It happened one time before and I got it back right away.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah. So I know it's like one update I wanted to mention is like, we temporarily, I mentioned this last week, we've temporarily removed the ability to edit the GMBs. We're just trying to do our best to make sure that we protect our API. We have some users on there that were making changes, and it's ultimately my fault because I allowed this to go on. I'm certainly not blaming anyone, but I'm trying to adjust things so that we can do it in a way that we're going to stay cool with Google, because what I don't want to ever happen is if I open up the floodgates for everyone to just make changes, we'll lose our API permanently. And that's not what any of us want. Right. And so there's other services out there that are, providing similar like GMB editing APIs. And it seems like every single one of them lost their API at the same time. We all got it back at the same time. And we're all making adjustments to try to ensure the longevity of this. So we're going through that process now. I don't have plans for you guys to never be able to edit the GMB. That's not my plan. And, my goal is to try to provide you guys as much value as possible. So, I know that some of you guys might be frustrated with this. I would just say, like, put yourself in our shoes from our end and think about like all the users that we're trying to make happy. And we're just trying to ensure that everyone can make edits long-term. So we may, some of the ideas that I've been kind of kicking around is allowing like edits for things that probably won't be hacking Google, such as like your hours, your phone number, this type of like basic maintenance type stuff. And then for the things like a name or a category, it could be like a approval process to make sure that it's not something that's like attempting to hack Google in any way. Google basically flat out came out and said that changing things through the API or the Google My Business dashboard, there's essentially an equal chance of suspension now. So what you said be true, where the API was this more trusted source, maybe that's not true anymore. Google has certainly misled people in the past, but this is kind of what they've said. So we're doing our best on our end to try to like pivot with this moving target and make sure that it is like the best that it can be for you guys. So the ability to edit is only temporarily removed, but it, you know, like I said, it will be coming back, and it's just probably going to be some restrictions on how we can do it. If you're not doing anything crazy, trying to like use the API to get verifications that, you know, you wouldn't be able to, like, it's probably not going to be the way to like verify with, you know, I think some people would like verify as like a vacuum cleaner store and then eventually move it into carpet cleaning by like several small changes. So this is what we're going to probably try to prevent right there, is that type of like manipulation, because Google is watching that. They've came out and told us they took away the API for a little bit. So just wanted to give everyone, give everyone the update. You want to make those type of changes, you can make it through the Google My Business dashboard, but I don't think it's going to exist where you're going to be able to do that through an API. And I think if you do find one, it's probably going to be short-lived because they're going to lose it. And, you know, that might put a mark on, I don't know, it might put a mark on your GMB. We didn't hear of any users at all having suspension issues as a result of like the API getting shut down, then brought back up. I think Google really understands that it's the owner of the API that kind of, and they shouldn't punish the users. So as kind of like the person who's controlling the API, I'm just trying to make sure that I can ensure the longevity and protect all of you guys from not being able to make edits and kind of them forcing our hand. So that's kind of the status update on that. I know that we've had a number of questions on that. Okay, cool. So I didn't mean to sidetrack that, Patrick. Congrats on the client. I just wanted to make sure I got that into this call. It was one of the things. Congrats on the client, man. Yeah, man, 25, that's an extra 3K a year, right? So that's good money, man. That's certainly, I mean, that could probably pay for a Lexus on a monthly basis, right? Like that's certainly nothing to shake a stick at, right? Okay, cool. Anybody have any other wins they want to celebrate?
I do have one.
Laurent, what's up, man? How are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
Good. Where I can hear that. Are you French?
I do, but I'm living in Quebec. In
Quebec,
Canada.
Montreal?
Yeah. In Montreal, exactly.
Excellent.
So that's funny because earlier Jeff was talking about a niche, about an electrician that he went into. And I'm doing the same thing right now in Montreal. So with the big suburb of Montreal, which is something like 2 million people.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, a friend reached out to me. I did some studies with her. And her husband is an electrician, a certified electrician. And then I'm going to build 5 sites for basically, just to take upon all the city around Montreal.
Okay.
And I did not thought about that niche. She came out with that. And it's true that it's a very low hanging fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working toward that right now. And you were talking about the shift of mindset. So that's actually what I'm doing, because it makes a year and a half. I'm in GK right now. And I've been very busy with my 9-to-5. I'm in a startup. And I started just to invest money into VAs. So I did screen a couple of VAs over the last 2 weeks. And I found 4 superstars right now to write my content. Those guys are writing contents like I've never seen. So that's my win that I wanted to share. So being able to do that shift of mindset and also publicize what you are doing with your friend, because they will bring you with some very interesting niches.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that, you know, it may not be the last mindset shift that you need, or maybe it is. But when you kind of go down the road and you've found the successful way to make things happen, and then you look back on some of these events, this may have been what you needed, right? I imagine since you're busy with your 9 to 5, you probably fall into one of two categories. One where it's like, I love my work and I'm just going to do this forever. And it's not really like it's not really a job because I just enjoy it. But I find that most people don't call it their 9 to 5 when they think about it that way. So I'm betting you fall into category 2, which is like, this is what's paying the bills. And this is like, I wish I had more freedom. I wish I had the ability to make more money, but this is what's paying the bills. So this is what I have to do. Right. So which one of those are you in? Are you in the, I want to get out of this job and I'm kind of using the lead gen model as a way to get out? Or are you like, I'm a lifer and I love this?
Well, I was falling into the first category. Okay. Basically, my goal was to be CEO of a company. Okay. By climbing the ladder. I'm not far from it. Okay. To be honest, but the closer I'm getting to it, the less interested I am in it. In fact, I want the freedom to decide by myself, and I want financial freedom. So that's why now I'm shifting 100 or 200% into GK.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's it's probably been an amazing learning process for you along the way, and you know, I was in a similar spot when I was working as a software engineer. I wasn't necessarily okay. I want to quit. It's like over time, I was loving what I was doing, and then eventually, I just kind of got pushed into it where I was like, I hate working for this company. Right? It wasn't me, and I wanted the freedom. And you know, it's sometimes we start out down one road, and then we realize that it's not the best road, and we're like, okay, but it's never too late to pivot. You look like you're still a young guy there, and you know, it's you can always. Here's the good thing. Let's say you turn in your lead generation business and you're making like $500,000 a year, and we've got it on autopilot because these VAs, everybody's doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. You still have this option to go back and be a CEO of whatever, or you know, if you like to to pick up bricks and or whatever, you have that option to go do it. It's good to have this like passive income stream that you can take with you, and you can just kind of do what you want. It's hard to get there if you don't have that mental spot of like, I'm going all in on this, right? And it seems like now you're investing more and more in this, and it's becoming more important. I would encourage you guys to. I've heard zero people in the you know, 5 or 6 years that I've been doing this. I've heard zero people say, man, I wish I wouldn't have built all those sites and got all those clients because this. Like, I've just never heard that. I've heard a lot of people on the other side of it. So, yeah, man, congrats on getting the VAs. I want to share something with you guys that I just started doing that I think is a good process for hiring VAs. I'm going to share my screen with you guys in 1 second. So there's this website I found called Brilliant. It's brilliant.org. I'm going to share my screen with you guys real quick. I'll show you why I like this. So one of the things that I've struggled with is trying to accurately assess the intelligence of the people that I'm hiring. And I think the logic part of what we do is very important, where it's like what we're doing, where it's like, okay, if this is not the case, if this website is not ranking, then maybe there's not enough backlinks. Just that kind of like problem solving thing. That's a skill set that comes up a lot in this. It's like, it's an analytical, got to be able to look at something, find the problem, and then come up with a solution. So when we're hiring people, especially when we're hiring for that kind of like valuable manager type position to take care of our things, that's something that they need. Now, with the way that I recommend hiring, whether it be through like Upwork or onlinejobs.ph, you have your hundreds of people to choose from, if not thousands, that can apply to these jobs. So you essentially have the pick of the litter. This is a skill set that I think is important. And this tool right here is something that you could easily put someone into this. So there's a logic one. There's all these different courses. I think this thing's like $100 for a year. I'm kind of like a nerd where I love to just keep learning random things. So I was doing it to try to like, I just want to be better at math. And I think I can apply it to my business in different ways. So logic is one of the first ones that you go through. And then, so there's like one here, truth seeking. We'll just give you an idea of some of the questions that are in here, right? So basically they're going to give you some kind of logic question. And what I'm going to do in my future interviews, and I've got jobs posted right now for a position, is I'm going to do this interview with them. I'm probably going to ask them several questions within the job application, and I'm going to choose the ones that I like the best. The ones that I like the best, we're going to are probably going to interview with one of my managers first, and then they're going to interview with me. Somewhere along that way, they're going to have to go here, and I'm going to give them some questions. This one might be, I think this is like one of the warm-up ones. So some of these start to get a little bit more challenging, right? Like this one, for instance. So give them this, have them work through it while you're on the call with them. Yeah, it might be stressful for them. It might be hard for them to solve some of this stuff. But when you kind of weed out some of these people that you can hear them working through this problem, right? Some of them, maybe they're going to just like freak. This is untested. I haven't tried this yet. I just think it's a brilliant idea. This is what I'm going to do. And I wish I would have thought to do this years ago, because I've been looking for things like this where it's like, man, this person had like a good interview. I asked them about their history. I asked them like these questions, and then like we get into it and like it's clear that they're not using like basic logic to make decisions. And then I'm like frustrated with the hire, and it's like you can't go backwards. So like I know that when I was interviewing for a software engineer position with Facebook, they were asking me technical questions. They were asking me hard questions, right? So this right here is an equivalent for us. It's simple. Anybody can do this, right? It's not something that's like tied to a language, right? They don't need to know that. Like you tell them like knaves is not a real word. Don't let them get tripped up on that, right? So give them maybe 4 or 5 of these questions. These are all over the internet. You don't need to have a subscription to this. I recommend it because I think it's super cheap, and I think you get like a 2-week free thing. But you could also just like Google like, hey, logic problems. And then I'm sure you could find hundreds of things like this. But I think put them through the ringer a little bit before you decide to bring them onto your team. Because what I found is it's a lot easier to make a good hire than it is to fire somebody. Especially when you start to like, if you're like me, where you like love these people, it's hard to like take away their income from them. And you know, maybe like maybe it means a lot to them, and it's like it just puts you in a tough situation. Spend a little bit more time, just like I'm saying, spend a little bit more time on the due diligence up front in your niches. Spend a little bit more time just kind of like making sure that you choose the right person. So Lawrence, I know that you just hired some people, and obviously like we hadn't talked about this, so you wouldn't know to do this. And it sounds like your people are content writers. So, you know, this isn't something that I would necessarily put a content writer through, but you know, maybe if it's a backlinker, I would put them through this test, because I want to see where they are like on an intellectual level. Because when I'm trying to teach them backlinking, if they understand this and they can like, they're going to get it faster. Right. So, all right. So hopefully you guys get some value from that. I'm excited for that. I think it's going to really raise the bar on what we hire. You guys are the ones that get to make the decision on this stuff. And you guys are the ones that get to decide what the rules are, and you can be picky. Right? Because there's so many people that are explaining it, or I mean, so many people that are applying for these positions. Okay, so did someone have something to add? Was that you, Jeff?
I was gonna say, if you want to move to another topic, Sharon on the Facebook Live is asking, never done GMB posts. What are the current recommendations? How often? How long of an article? I think that's limited to 750 characters, and they expire every 7 days. But what other recommendations would you have, Patrick, as far as putting maybe location and specific niches that are covered, or services that are covered by the business itself, all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have several recommendations on how I would do that. So first, like Jeff said, they do expire after 7 days. One of the things that we had happening where we created a log in our end where a lot of posts weren't posting, and it looked like our system was failing. But really, once we couldn't figure out what was going on. And once we created the log, we started realizing that Google was rejecting the posts. Oh, Sorry,
right.
Shannon, I'm just going to mute you because you're,
sorry.
Yeah, you're good. All right. So Google wasn't allowing things to go live because of like one reason or another. And two of the errors that they kept giving us was like it had a phone number in it or it had a URL, and it seemed like it wasn't always rejecting it. It was just sometimes it was rejecting it, but that was like an error message that we were getting back from Google. So when you make those posts, I would not put those in there. What I would do is I'm going to look in here. I realize I don't have my screen shared. Let me share my screen real quick. Okay, so I'm going to use this as a part of like my GMB strategy. Right. That's why we're doing the post in the first place, is we're trying to optimize that GMB. We're trying to improve that. So let's maximize that, right? Let's get in here and look at this GMB. So I'm just going to pretend that I am, was that Shirlene? Is that who was asking that question? So I'm going to pretend that.
Sharon.
Okay. So I'm going to pretend that I am, let's look at Bob's good old classic, Bob's bear removal here. Okay. So, man, it seems like our rankings have dropped for this.
Yeah, we're getting crushed.
I know. Maybe people are tired of calling our number that doesn't actually do bear removal, right? So I'm looking at this area and I'm going to zoom in. I think we have a really small area selected here, but let's say, all right. So Al Tahoe, whatever that is right there. Okay. So we're a 5 right there. So when I do my post, first I'm going to click on this and I'm going to find out, okay, these are the coordinates of that spot. I'm going to include a photo in my post that have those coordinates of it. I'm going to name my photo that I'm posting there with this name. So that's Altoa. So let's say my term, oh, I guess this is just bear. Okay. So I don't even know, like it could be someone shopping for bears. I don't know that they want bear removal necessarily. Right.
Yeah,
so let's pretend this is bear removal. So my photo is going to be named like bear removal, Al Tahoe, South Lake Tahoe, something like that. I'm going to have it geotagged to that spot that I want to rank in. And then my post is going to be about this area. So it could be something like, give me 1 second here. Let's see if I can get a note. Okay, so maybe this is going to be something about my post, right? It's going to be like, we are running a special this week for anyone in the Al Tahoe area, South Lake Tahoe. I'm just going to try to make this thing look as real as possible. Get a bear removed and get one for free or something like that. I don't know. Maybe throw a little humor in there. Buy one, get one free on the bear removal, right? This week only. So I'm going to make sure that I get the keyword in there. I didn't do a very good job of that. So I guess we got bear removed, and Google uses like intent to be able to determine that that's bear removal. But I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to tag that. So I've got my photo in there. I'm mentioning the area that I want to target. It's going to roll off in 7 days. And I'm going to have a second one that's going to pop on in 7 days. And maybe with the next one, because I don't want to look spammy, maybe my next one, I'm going to go after this, like, I don't know, like it would be Bijou, right? Up here in this top right corner. I think this is a really small area that we selected here. It looks like 5 by 5 with a 1/4 mile. So this is like only, there's only like 1.5 miles or 1.25 miles between these, like between this whole map. So you're going to obviously choose a much larger area. You'll have a lot more neighborhoods to work with. So that would be some of the strategies that I would use in posting. I don't know if there were like parts of that question that I didn't answer. Jeff, did I hit that one or?
Yeah, I think you hit it. I mean, that's the thing is I think if you're really going to get the power of it, you need to be consistent, like every 7 days or at 7 to 10 days, like once they expire, put up another one and then continuously and strategically target these neighborhoods where maybe you're just below the line of getting in the map pack so that you can trigger and signal Google that you're more relevant in those locations. So if you just think strategically, I think that's the main thing, and be consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Jeff mentioned, and I failed to highlight, is like these, like the map shows the top 3, right? So the 4s and the 5s are the ones that are closest to 3. You're going to get more bang for your buck going from 4 to 3 than pretty much any number out there, right? It's obviously better to be 1 than 2, but I think there's a larger jump between 4 and 3. And the ones that are 4s or 5s are the closest to 3. So focus on those with your posts. Focus on those areas. And then you kind of want to strategically move this. So if it were me, I would be looking at these 4s. I'm not going to really focus on the ones out in the water so much. I don't think people on boats are they're just going to have to be low volume there, right? So these 4s and 5s, like focus on those, kind of maybe ignore the 7s for right now. What's going to happen is if you move this 5 to a 1, this 6 is not going to be a 6 anymore. This is like an antenna, right? If you're ranking there, it's going to kind of like have some ripple effects on the surrounding areas, right? So, but focus on the ones that are closest to giving you that advantage. I personally think the posts are a valuable thing to do. Scheduling is built into lead generated, so take advantage of that. I don't think the posts are the most valuable things to do. I think they are valuable, but I don't think it's the most valuable, right? I think that citations are important. I think reviews, getting those reviews on there, asking questions. These are all different. You got to have a multifaceted attack strategy on these GMBs. And you've seen a lot of people have taken these strategies and they've used them. I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, somebody, they did like a 2 or 3 month of like, hey, here's month 1 of my GMB, here's month 2, month 3, and month 4. And they basically said that they used the strategies, the exact strategies that I've been teaching here. So it may not be 4 months for you. Like we had GMBs that we've been doing this stuff too for a year, and it's just, you got to be patient with this stuff. Sometimes like we've been, we don't always go into the low hanging fruit. If someone comes to us and they're willing to pay us, then we're going to like go into that. But for you guys, if you have the option, you can select that and then you'll be able to move them faster. But if you're in a tougher niche for whatever reason, then it's not like flipping on a light switch where it's just you're going to go from like not ranking to the top spot in 30 days. Every other company in this area is trying to do the same thing you are. They may not know how to do it, or they may not be they have the goal to do this. They might not be putting in the effort, but you're competing. There's probably other people that are doing similar things in other in the same market. So, it may take some time to really get the stuff to move. So just kind of be patient with it, guys. Cool. Do we have any other questions, Jeff?
Well, I can't, I'll look at the Facebook feed in just a second, but I was thinking that I was wondering if there would be a scenario where that listed that you took your screen share down, but it was like Heavenly Resort. And that's where I stayed when I got married, by the way. But mentioning something like that, if it were appropriate niche, I can't think of the example in my head, but it's like, if you had the post and you were like, if you're staying at Heavenly Resort, you get 10% off or something like that.
Yeah.
There were some kind of, if naming some local landmark like that or well-known place would help maybe the post.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could even, it would be a stretch, but I'm almost like tempted to say like, you could reach out to a business or a company and let them know that like, hey, if local backlinks matter, right? We all know that. Local backlinks matter. So what if you were to reach out, and I don't know that Heavenly Resort, because I know that resort is like a big resort, but a mom and pop shop, if you were to do something that's like, hey, if you put a backlink to our site from your site, we'll give any of your customers a 10% off. It's like, probably no customer is going to take advantage of that, where it's like, okay, I'm staying here. I don't need bear removal, but like, right. It could get you a backlink. And we've tried this in other spots. We've tried this. We had moderate success with like colleges where we try to like offer the faculty a discount to get a backlink from a college. They weren't really responsive, but I think we ended up getting a couple, and like we've had 0 people reach out for that service to actually give that discount, and the client could easily make that adjustment and not necessarily lose money. So if you guys get creative with this stuff, we never tried it with like the mom and pop shops or any of these places, but you could say, hey, like show your room key to Heavenly Resort and you get this discount. And it's a way to get that in there. It legitimizes your business to some extent, right? When Google sees that, hey, we're offering a discount if this, and it could be a way to get your foot in the door to one of these people and just be like, hey, we're going to give lifetime discounts to your customers if you just throw, I honestly, I just kind of like thought of this idea while we're on here, but I think it's a great idea is to get a local backlink. You could go to a few of the top spots in town and kind of like offer the same thing and then just like communicate to your client that, hey, if someone comes from this, I can almost promise you your client's not going to have a problem with it. It's not like you're going to offer them an 85% discount, right? Offer them a 10% discount, right? And just it's another way. It's a creative way to get a link. It's a way to get a local landmark into a post. And, you know, it could be a way to make a connection with another business owner in the same town, right? And these types of things, you know, these small edges can stack up. For us, I would love to be able to get a local backlink from any of these companies and have it linked to my site, because that's one of the two things we're after, right? Whether it's niche relevant or whether it's like location relevant backlinks, right? So I see that Shirlene asked, can you explain the reputation management?
Let's finish up with the post real quick, because Sharon is asking, so 500 words is okay. I mean, do you think I think it's better to have, you know, maybe not the whole 750, I think is the limit, but I would think if you had at least half of that or around 500 would probably be, you know, wise, instead of just making a short, you know, one sentence post or something like that.
Yeah, it looks like Google My Business says you can do 1,500 characters, which is a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, you got to think about this on your own. What's worth it to you. I'm going to show you guys, because I think there's an underutilized part of the system that maybe is not clear. Let me share my screen real quick. Let's go in and look at a Google My Business location for bear removal. Let's give it 1 second here to load. Okay, so if we were to go over here to post and then create a new post. So for those of you guys who haven't used spend tax before, let me show you how this works. So let's just say, I'm going to copy over this text that I was writing earlier. Okay. We're running a special this week for anyone in the El Tahoe area. I'm going to add some stuff in here. We provide, and this is what spend tax is. Let me see if I can get this right. Bear removal. And then I can put this character in here and I can say like, maybe they also do like rodent removal. I don't know. Okay, I've got this set up wrong. Maybe it's this way. Might have to Google it. It's been a while since I've used this myself. I've got my team handling this stuff. So basically, oh man, all right, I'm just gonna Google it real quick. Spend tax format. So spend tax is, that's what that is using. It's our system is using spend tax where it will, okay, seems like what I had.
Yeah, or the brackets.
And is this just not?
You got it looks like you got a square bracket on the far left there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's killing it.
Okay, cool. So just so you guys see this, you see how it says we provide hello? Over here it says we provide hello. So what it's doing when I put it in between these pipes is it's choosing one of these three. So you put these brackets on the outside, okay? And then you put the word next to the pipe inside here. And it's going to rotate between whatever is in here. So I'm going to just make this a little bit more clear. So we provide bear removal. And then I'll change this one to we provide pest control. And I'll change this one to amazing service, right? Okay, so you can see we provide pest control. And if I click over here to regenerate spin tax, there we go. We provide amazing service. So it's going to basically randomly pick one of these terms that I put in here. And you can do this as many times as you want. And through this, you could have like original content being spun through here where it's not repetitive, right? So if you wanted to spend the time and you had like, maybe you write 1,000 words and maybe like of the 1,000 words, I mean, you could put a whole sentence in there and it could be rotating this stuff so it always looks like it's fresh and original. So that's kind of what that spin tax does, is it's going to look for this. And when it gets there, it's going to rotate that for you guys and choose a different one. It's doing a random number each time I have 3. So does that make sense? Anyone have any questions about that? You guys see the value and how that can be used?
Yeah, and just to add to that, like if you see, like if you have a paragraph and you have 4 or 5 of those, then it's going to vary it, you know, in multiple ways. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, like the permutations can be exponential when you start like combining them, right?
I do have a question, Patrick, here. So let's say that you put this content in a post with or without pin tags. What happens to the content after 7 days? Can you reuse that content somewhere else, or will it be like duplicate content for Google?
Yeah, so you can definitely reuse it. The content's going to stay out there. I think that there's a big, I think there's some like mistakes in the way people think about duplicate content. Okay, it's not a penalty if there's duplicate content. What Google's trying to do is trying to show the most valuable information. And if you have duplicate content, Google's going to say, okay, so this content's on this site and this content's on this site. Like, I've already got this one listed here. This is already relevant. So like, I'm just going to move this one down or like not show it because it's just duplicate content, right? It's not like you're like have some black shadow floating over your domain for the rest of the time that you're in business. It's more like Google's just trying to make decisions of what is the most relevant data to show here. And if it's duplicate, then it's like, they're probably not going to show it, right? So that's kind of how that works. So you can reuse it. It's just a post. It's not like an index page. It's always going to be there. There may be a way to delete it, but your previous posts are still kind of shown on the GMB. They're not highlighted anymore. I think they kind of like stay there. I think there's a way, if you look through it, you can find them forever.
Yeah, I know. I'm not really positive how they index as far as like the past ones, Patrick, but I know if you use a business site on, you know, a Google business site, if you have that attached to your GMB and you continue to post, the old posts kind of like stack up at the bottom of it or wherever you have them in the Google business site, if you want to go that direction. So they have to be somewhere if that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like he said, I think they stick around there for a while. Okay, so I see Jordan asking, what about the spin tax choices if you choose pest removal, but the next sentence didn't choose get a pest removed and get a bear removed? Yeah, so you want to be strategic with how you set this stuff up and think about like the different permutations of how this could, you don't want to write something in like one sentence where like the next sentence is going to contradict it because of like one of the choices that were made in the first sentence. So you just kind of be smart. You could potentially do that with a whole sentence and then have the second, but you just need to think through it a little bit. And it's probably good to like, just click on that regenerate spin tax a few times to make sure there's no anomalies that you haven't accounted for, right? Just, you know, be cognizant of what you're doing there. So Janeri, I see you asking, where is Janeri? She's hiding over there. Huh?
I'm here. Sorry. I just came from Grain and Berry, which is like a smoothie acai bowl place that I love. So
I'm chowing down right now. You don't want to do it on camera.
No, I had it hours ago. I was with my laptop working and I was listening in. So.
Oh, all right. So are you seeing some kind of issue with reputation management?
Well, okay. So I haven't used, that's one part I have not touched at all. So now I'm doing it for one of my clients. And basically in the video that you show on how to use it, you kind of try to test it out where you link in, you know, like Google. I guess the GMB, I assume. And then to test it, then you hit preview and then you test it out, right? And you click 5 stars and it should take you to the GMB review link. I'm not seeing that. So I don't know if anything had changed.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what's going on here. Apparently my subscription is not working. Give me 1 second here to get this squared away. I'm not aware of any issues that we're having with the reputation management. Give me 1 second here.
Okay.
Let me see if I can give myself, I should be able to get a free subscription to my own software, right?
Well, do you know anyone else that might help you?
Well, he's doing that. I had people asking me about like sharing process with choosing niches and different things like that. And I mean, just from the prior conversation we had earlier on this call, I mean, it can be very location dependent. It can be very industry dependent and all of that. So I think, just getting as many reps in as you can of going through that process in your head. And again, kind of becoming a little bit of an expert. I mean, you don't have to become an expert, but a lay expert in whatever the industry is that you're working in is not a bad idea to just have a working knowledge of how these jobs get done. We gave the electrician example. Another example quickly is like drywall. Like I had some drywall stuff out there and I found that, because again, I was targeting residential stuff rather than commercial. These residential people, they have a pipe break and the plumber comes and cuts out a 2x2 piece of drywall. Well, who cares? Nobody wants to get out of bed for a 2x2 piece of drywall, right? Or if it is in some kind of a larger job and a finish out, well, I learned that the drywall guys or the painters rather, I did painting and drywall together. The painters are the last guys out, right? So they want to get out and get to the next job. And they often leave the work unfinished. The touch-ups are a little off or the baseboard wasn't put back on just right, but they don't care. They're off to the next job. The homeowners get pissed and they leave bad reviews, right? Or they're calling back and they're not happy with the work that's done because the finish out is the worst part because you can never get it to the standard that the homeowner is going to want it. So I stay away from that stuff now because I know that can get really dicey with keeping people happy. And so it's just like knowing that you don't know until you know, right? And so I think that all talking through different niches and situations is really good. And then you start to be on alert when you do start to go into a new niche, or even just try to dig in a little bit deeper into the niches that you're in to figure out like, how does this really work? Like from the frontline standpoint, because that can really affect your business and how much, admin time that you have to waste on it and all of that other stuff. It may not be such a mailbox money situation anymore in those cases. So just a lot to be aware of, and there's no one answer. It's really niche and location dependent.
I'm having some issues here. I don't seem to be able to give myself a subscription to this thing right now.
So we are having issues, Pat.
It's not with the it's not with it. Yeah.
We're at an hour and a half too, Patrick. Why don't we table that and come back on it for next week? And maybe you can make a quick post video in the group, just kind of like detailing a little bit about it in the next day or so.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely do that. If there, I hate to leave a question unanswered like this, especially if you're getting ready to like ramp something up. Would it be possible? I think there was 2 people or maybe even 3 people that had asked a question about the reputation management. I know that, let's see here, scrolling back up, maybe somebody could help me out. Janeri, I don't know if you have confidential stuff there, then that's cool. Or if you want to share your screen, then maybe I can just kind of walk you through it and give you a quick overview. If not,
I'm on my phone. I'm on my phone and okay. I'm being, traveling right now. So. Okay. Yeah, no worries. You see who that, I know there was another person who asked about the reputation management. So I'll tell you what, like Jeff said, I'll just put together a video and I'll post it in the group. I'll probably have it up there by tomorrow or so
So that way you guys can see it and see how it works. To my knowledge, there's no problem with the reputation management module right now. I will tell you that we have a pretty big update that's coming for it that is going to allow texting. So you can text for the review request. You can put them into a kind of like a better funnel system, right? So, but those changes haven't gone live yet, so they wouldn't have negatively impacted the reputation management system yet in any way. But yeah, so you'll be able to even like pull Zapier into the review request process too. So like Zapier has a lot of different functionalities. So you can basically have it trigger a zap at a choice of whatever choice you want. And you can start using variables, which means the, so what I mean by the variables is you can basically make one funnel and apply it to a bunch of different companies, because you could say like, let me put the business owner's name at the end of this as a variable, and just kind of like that spin tax thing that will swap it out based on, you know, whatever you have set up for that company. So that's kind of the direction. We've been working on it for about 2 months, and I'm hoping we can have it go live here really soon. Just every time I test it, I find like some little bug here or there. So I'm trying to get all this stuff ironed out, but we're hoping to have that live for you guys. So like Jeff said, we're at an hour and a half, and I'm going to try to keep these things to like 60 to 90 minutes, just so I don't get burned out on it. And, you know, so it's, you know, try to keep it a little bit more concise, and then have separate videos that we kind of roll out through the week. So if there's anyone here that has questions that I didn't get to, post it in the group. And, you know, obviously if there's a question that's coming up more and more, then I'll put together a video for you guys so that you guys can have it, you know, to rewatch or whatever. But I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have an awesome week. Thank you guys for tuning in. And yeah, let me know. We'll see you in the group, and let me know if you guys have any questions. All right. So everybody stay safe and take care, and we'll talk soon.
Take care, guys.